Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's so nice to be here again on a Monday, 5 p.m. broadcast on goal management. In this series of goal management, we are talking about the qualities of leadership. And today, in leadership, we are talking of the last of the five things that we spoke about. And today, this last thing we are talking about is commitment and ownership, right? We are talking about commitment and ownership, right? Now, when a leader is determined to make his team achieve the goals or the company to achieve, the organization to achieve the goals, then he needs to have a clear vision. He needs to establish trust with his people. He needs to communicate the goals and the vision very, very clearly to everyone in the organization, right till the last rung of the ladder. And then he also needs to build commitment and ownership. And before that, we had also discussed about decision making. So, when we are talking about commitment and ownership, let's understand what these terms are. Basically, commitment, to a very, very simple way, which I've been explaining to my students in my workshops, is it's a promise. It's a promise. Promise to yourself, promise to your organization, promise to your team that when you have your vision, your eyes set onto that goal, that I need to achieve this goal, then what do you do in your mind is to set that desire into action, inspiration into action. Please remember these words. Inspiration is fine, desire is fine, but has it been turned into action? Tony Robbins keeps saying again and again, massive action. You want to do it. You have got that desire. You have got that dream to achieve. But when it comes to action, you say, I'll do it tomorrow. That is where we go wrong. Now, the entire organization under this wonderful leader needs to have commitment. And commitment for a leader is commitment to himself before everything else. Commitment to himself that whatever he has decided, he's committed, means there is no way it will not be done. Come what may. Come what may, or whatever it takes, I must achieve my goals. I must remain committed to my goals. If that is your dogged determination, then nothing can ever stop you. Nobody in the universe can stop you. In fact, the universe plays a very, very supportive role in making things happen for you. Right? So, this is something which I really, really want to harp upon. So, you need unwavering commitment to achieve your goals. Unwavering commitment. So, now what it means is it can't say, okay, I couldn't do it now, I'll do it later. Nothing like that. Let's say, for example, that you had to do something by Monday. What it means is that the organization should know, the team should know, not only the seniors, but the peers and the subordinates, everyone should know that this is what is expected to be done. They should know that this is being done. And the way I've looked at it from my army career as well as in my corporate training experience, you have to be a misguide, sorry, uh, what do you call, a self-driven, that there's a term it just slipped off from my mind. You have to be a missile which is not, it is called, okay, let's forget that. Okay, which means once you home onto your target, you will reach there come what may. Nobody needs to supervise, nobody needs to guide you. You become a self-driven, self-motivated person to achieve those goals, which also means that I should trust as a boss that my people who are committed to their goals, if they say this is to be done by Monday, it will be done at all costs and there'll be no excuses, there'll be no justifications. Commitment means an absence of anything called excuses, uh, justifications, or anything to explain why it couldn't be done. Normally, if I have to do a task by Monday, somewhere on Friday, I would be able to make out whether it is possible or not. Is there something coming in my way? Then, in a good team, leaders at all levels, they tell the next level leader, maybe on Friday, that sir, this task was to be done by Monday, but there is a little problem. The manpower is less, the electricity is failed, the internet is not there, my computer's got virus, 100 reasons why I think Monday will be difficult. Now, it is for the leader to allow you another day if he has that cushion. Okay. And if he's justified, he may say, okay, instead of Monday, give it to me my Tuesday. But no way can on Monday, when the leader says, have you done it? And you say, sir, I couldn't do it because A, B, C, and Z. No. Now you have given your leader a fate accompli reason for failure. Is anyone eligible, or is it justified for anyone to let down his leader? Because that leader who needed that job to be done, based on that, he was going to be reporting to another person, and maybe based on that goal were other goals which were dependent. And therefore, it's always in a corporate world, the whole thing is that information or jobs to be done by various people, the reports could be compiled, and now he has to send it to somebody else. And if one team is not going to do it, the others will also be delayed, and therefore this leader would not be able to honor his commitment to the next level. And that is a cycle that cannot be broken. That is a link that cannot be broken. And therefore, commitment is of a very, very high order, or a very high requirement. And in my leadership trainings, I have always given commitment and trust, two of these things, very high value. Commitment and trust are the two issues. And when I say commitment, I'm also going to talk of ownership. Commitment and ownership put together make a team extremely strong, and very, very seldom a team which is committed and a team which has got ownership can ever fail to deliver the results. I've got hundreds of examples from live, from corporate companies, where we proved it to them that when the team was committed, and I used to do activities which were which used to bring about a self-consciousness of the role you play in a team and how your commitment and your ownership is going to deliver the results that you want. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is all I wanted to say about commitment. There's much more, but considering the time, I would keep so much for commitment. Let's come to ownership. What does ownership really mean? Ownership, in very, very simple terms, is that I take the organization to be my organization. I take it that every penny of this organization is as important as my personal money. Everything that happens in this company affects me. If the company does very well, I feel proud. If the company does something which doesn't go well, I am equally affected. I can't say, oh, I've done my job. If, for example, there's something that's gone wrong, and there's something in the social media that there was some packaging which was wrong, or something happened, or there's food poisoning, and now the ownership is when the MD of the company goes and announces in public that I am responsible for it. Means he takes the ownership. Similarly, everyone down the channel also takes ownership and doesn't say and pass on the blame to somebody else. A leader passing on the blame to somebody else is or to the team is the worst thing a leader can do, right? Okay. Now I want to tell you something about ownership. And there are two things which I really thought I will explain. One is that when I was the CMD of Empower Activity Camps, we had a Havaldar with us who was a camp manager. Now, this man was very, very dedicated to the organization and would do everything as sincerely as one can possibly expect a person to. So he was loyal, he had high integrity, he was very honest and everything that you would expect from a person. We used to do raft building, and for a few months in the summers, our own lake would dry up, and we had to go a distance of about 5 kilometers to another village where there was a place where there was a water body. We had to pay to that village a certain amount of rent for using the land, and then we used to use that place for the whole day. So it was a daily rental. It's not hourly or something, it was one day's rent. Also, to reach that place, you required a vehicle, obviously, to take people 5 kilometers away. And then earlier, the labor had to go and establish. So there were three trips of the vehicle, or maybe even 4 trips for one raft building exercise to be done. To take people, to take the administrative staff, to bring back both of them, and maybe in between some type of logistic requirement of food or some equipment that was not available to be brought in. So it required a couple of trips of that vehicle, certain amount of manpower. So that was what used to go into organizing a raft building exercise. Now, one day he walked up to me and he said, there were two companies on training. One was on the first day, the other one was on the third day. He said, sir, can we do raft building of both of them the same day? Can you adjust your schedule in a way that in the morning we do one company, in the evening we do another company? We will save transport, we'll save the rental charge and all that, and it'll become much more convenient for us. We'll save money. I told him, I said, Pratap, I can't do that because raft building comes in a sequence. I have to first build up a certain amount of trust before I take them for raft building, because in experiential learning, there is a way of doing it. There's a sequence. And it is not isolated activities, and the sequences can't be changed. Just like you can't give soup in the end and dessert in the beginning or in the middle of a dinner course. So he was not convinced, and he said, sir, it's up to you. I was only wanting to save money, but if you are the owner, if you want to do it your way. Which means that he was getting hurt about this money being saved. That is an example of ownership. Another example of ownership, let me take from that raft building exercise. So what used to happen, we used to give a team, and there used to be generally 4, 5, 6 teams. We used to have two long members, which were about 12 feet bamboos, and then there were cross members, which were 4 feet bamboos to be tied up, and then in between you would put tire tubes, 3 or 4 tires, right? Now, to tie up these tires, we used to have rope, and you have to tie up the knots in a particular way that they're very strong knots. And there were normally 24 knots that used to go onto a raft. When we used to do a debriefing, I used to ask people, how many of you were involved in tying the knots? And generally everyone at least did 2 or 3 knots out of the 24. So people would raise their hands. And my question used to be, what were you thinking? What was going on in your mind when you were tying that knot? Now, people who are there, if you can write something in the comments, what would you say if I were to ask you what was going on in your mind when you were tying that knot? Can somebody write? What would you say? What would come into your mind? Anyone? And if you can do it quickly. Okay. So I can see some very, very good comments coming by Anil Goswami. Anil, thank you very much. They are lovely points, particularly about Abdul Kalam. We'll talk about that if time permits. Very, very interesting. Yes. So when I asked this question, what was going on in your mind when you were tying the knot? Generally, the answer would be, my knot must be tied. And I said, why? He said, because if my knot is loose, then people's lives are endangered. And I said, what if I prove to you that their lives are not endangered? How many knots did you tie? He said, so 3 knots. I said, okay. I asked my staff, remove 6 knots. You tied 3, I'll take another 2, another person's share. 6 knots khol do. Not loosen them, open them up. Okay. So now out of 24, 6 knots have been removed, and now there are 18 knots. And sometimes I would go even another 2 knots and say, okay, let there be 16 knots. And then I said, how many of you are prepared to go on this raft? And people said, no, we are not prepared because now the raft is not strong enough. And then I would tell my staff to sit on that raft and maybe add a little extra weight to cater for because otherwise there would be 8 people and now there are 4 of the staff. And they would row the boat. And I said, see, nothing is happening to the raft. The raft is okay even with 16 knots. So how did your knot matter? And then here is where the answers come in. Sir, I think the knot still mattered. I said, why? He said, sir, even if the raft is surviving, but it's not strong enough. It is certainly weaker than the one which had all 24 knots, which was strongly or tightly tied up. And that's the point. Yes, it is. So I said, see, when you are not doing your work properly, the company is not going to drown. The company is not going to stop working. But do you agree that everyone who doesn't put in his best and doesn't take ownership of that company is actually creating a little dent in that? Is it weakening the structure to some extent? And should I be that one who contributed to the weakening of the organization, or should I be the one who strengthens the organization? If this feeling comes into your mind, then you are absolutely strong in your ownership. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is important that a leader must be highly committed and have high sense of ownership if you want to achieve your goals and make sure that your organization succeeds. I will be I'll be very, very happy if more of you can share your uh, ideas, ask questions, so we can take this discussion forward. And today, with that, we have finished the discussion of the role of leadership in goal management. On Thursday, we will go ahead with other aspects of leadership, and do come on Thursday at 5 o'clock for the next session on goal management for an organization. Thank you very much for your being here, and grateful to all of you who come, who participate, and who uh, offer their comments in which on whichever platform you are, whether you are on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook. Please do keep giving your comments, and we look forward to more interactions and more ideas coming from you. Thank you very much. So this is 76 Dashi. I really could not make out when you say, let others do. Let others do. Can you please explain? I did not get that. And I'll just spend another 2 minutes. I'll be there to see if I can answer that. And Anil Goswami, thank you very much. Leaders should be like crane, just pull the team after bending down. That's okay. But just be a little careful that when a leader becomes like a crane and he keeps pulling, sometimes people get used to being pulled and they will not be having their own self-propelled power. So I feel, uh, let the leader not do spoon feeding. Let the leader make sure that people uh, are not given fish, but they learn how to fish. Commander Vijay, I'm so happy to see you. I've not seen you for a very long time. In fact, I want to talk to you today. It has been long since I've seen you on the WhatsApp group, etc. Yes, if each member decides to go slow on his own knots, thinking that others, in any case, are tying it strong, it may happen that everyone has tied loose knots. Yes, that is one aspect. But Vijay, I'll go step ahead. I said, okay, as I said, 16 knots are strong, and you have not tied, and it's not making a much of a difference. But should you get a feeling that I was responsible for weakening the raft? May not be for drowning the raft, but you certainly weakened the raft. And that means, does my lack of commitment and ownership bring down the level of strength of the organization? That is the question. And the two things that everyone has to be taught very, very strongly in an organization is that you need to be absolutely, uh, just a minute. Okay. Yeah. So everyone needs to understand that goals to be achieved is a joint responsibility of everyone and not of the leader alone. And where people understand that everyone has a responsibility, has a role to play, the organization depends on them, that is the uh, key of everything, right? So I'll be very happy if anyone wants to come one to one and talk to me on any of those things. You can book a Calendly call, and this is the link which I've given on the screen, BSP Talk, and I offer a 20 minutes complimentary session for anyone who wants to discuss anything like this with me. I'll be very happy, and all those who want to get in touch with me and are not connected, then whichever platform you are, please send me a direct message, and I'll be very happy to connect with you. So thank you very much, and see you on Thursday at 5 p.m.